One of the numbers that we ran out, and Richard can probably get this a little closer, but it's something around 70% of the aluminum consumed in the United States per year is produced in Canada.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. So what's the feeling here within the industry about what's happening, how the industry might react?
I think at this point there's quite a bit of confusion within industry. I mean, we don't know for sure, but it's not clear that the President of the United States had at least telegraphed that he might be going to double the aluminum and steel tariffs. So you're probably having a lot of chatter around boardrooms at places like Ford and Molson Coors and Budweiser and Coca-Cola.
Oh boy, I want to bring in Richard Bork. He covers the metals and mining stocks for Bloomberg Intelligence. Richard, give us a number on kind of how material this is in terms of how much aluminum do we, in fact, steel, all that stuff, do we get from Canada?
Okay, so Canada is the number one exporter of aluminum, as Joe mentioned. They're also the number one exporter of steel to the U.S. Aluminum, it's a much bigger problem because the U.S. doesn't have the capability to produce aluminum because our electricity is number one cost to produce aluminum. We're not competitive on electrical energy costs, so therefore we need to import aluminum. On steel, on the other hand, the U.S. imports about 20% of its steel needs. Our analysis shows that maybe a third of that is steel that the U.S. producers don't want to produce or maybe can't produce. So therefore, with the current industry utilization at around 75%, they can ramp up and cover any shortfall, on steel. Aluminum, we don't have that capability.
Ryan Grabrinsky of Strategas said, another day, another tariff announcement. How seriously should we take this? I mean, markets are reacting as we've seen the whiplash the past weeks, but when do we know if it's the, quote, real deal?
Well, that's the $24 question that everybody's asking. This one sounds like it was in response to Canada coming with a 25% energy tariff. So I could see it, if Canada rolls back their tariff, the U.S. rolls back, maybe back down to 25%.
Hey, Joe, so you mentioned kind of the people that actually use aluminum, whether it's making a can for beer or soda. Are we hearing anything from just those types of people? Because those are the ones that are going to have to deal with as well.
Yeah, I mean, the packaging companies in particular are a little more careful because there's a lot more competition there. Like the first time around, I remember hearing from one of the big beer companies saying, Joe, if we raise the price of, a 12-pack or a 6-pack of beers, the other company would come in and eat our lunch for it, right? However, I was saying earlier with Richard on another segment, the Ford CEO came out a month ago and said these tariffs will blow a hole through the industry. So I think you are starting to hear more CEOs actually be a bit more aggressive with what they're saying. Now, partly that is because of the bigger concerns that go beyond just metal tariffs. Mexico and Canada tariffs would be absolutely difficult to handle. But yeah, I think you're hearing it from them.
Rich, 30 seconds. What if any of the companies reacted yet so far today?
We haven't, Alcoa on their latest call had kind of outlined a scenario what they saw would happen. And what they saw happen is they would shift their production to Europe or shift their shipments to Europe, and they expect a lower tariff country to come in and backfill what they didn't do to the U.S.